Okay, so I think I took a good break, which felt like it went a lot longer than I expected. And now that I finished 2 vlogs, I think it's finally time for me to do a full breakdown of The Rise of Red. Wow. It's really been a while since it aired on Disney Channel 2 months ago. If only I was able to go back to the day after it aired. That would be... What the... How did this... No way. Let's do this. Yeah. Whoa. This is heavy. Oh, hey Descendants. Welcome back to the channel. So, I guess the time's finally come. This is going to be a full breakdown of Descendants: The Rise of Red. Yes, we finally made it to the end of the road, and now we can talk about this wicked movie together. It feels so good to be back in the world of Disney's Descendants after almost a decade. Just think about how far we came with the original core 4 back in 2015, and now we have a brand new story with all new characters, and of course, a lot of time travel. So as we venture into this new era with Red and Chloe, I think this is only the beginning of something more. Though I'll say this, while the movie was amazing to watch, there honestly was a few things that many fans, including yours truly, are not fully appreciating at the moment. I'll talk about them as we go on, but I promise you, this is still worth it. So let's grab our pocket watches and go back through this movie to explore the details and Easter eggs that we miss, figure out the connections to Beyond the Isle of the Lost, and of course predict about where the franchise could go next based on this movie's ending. Yeah, I know it seems like I might be starting off as somewhat negative on this movie, but this video is going to be a fair and honest review as much as possible. Now, for those who are watching this video in the future, I guess, I know the movie has been out for a while and lots of us have already talking about it, but if you haven't managed to read the entirety of the book or watch the full movie as of yet, also if you have avoided any of the online scoops prior to this, then here's your last chance to click away to catch up on everything that you missed. Because I don't want to ruin the experience for some of you out there. And again, huge spoiler warning before I continue. Here we go. So the movie begins with some narration from Uma, played by our first Descendants veteran, China Anne McClain. She explains that Auradon was established 30 years ago and reminds us that she was born on the Isle of the Lost, which was home to the original Core 4. And I'm sad we didn't manage to visit the place here very briefly. Of course, Uma is the daughter of Ursula. We were first introduced to her in D2 as the main antagonist. She later played a team role in D3, and then the last time we saw her was in the 2021 Royal Wedding Special. She then explains the whereabouts of the old gang. Now that Mal and Ben are the new king and queen of Auradon, they recently headed out to sea with Jay and Evie to form new alliances with other kingdoms around the world to join their own and build a better future. Now, of course, this is an indicator to us that the franchise has officially moved on from the original Core 4. While yes, it's sad to let go of Dove, Sophia, Boo Boo, and many others of the original cast, we still have to thank them for creating the world and crafting these stories that we've been loving since 2015. I mean, just look how far we came with these guys. They have officially passed the torch to this new generation, and hopefully they'll take care of the franchise as much as they did. And of course, we'll tackle with the biggest and most heartbreaking tribute in the film in just a bit. Also to point out, the Barnes & Noble copy of the book reveals a hidden chapter that involves Mal, Ben, Evie, Jay, and Doug traveling to King Arthur's castle in Camelot, from where they meet King Arthur himself, along with the first appearance of the Charming family who we'll meet later in the movie. And unfortunately, yes, they do mention Chad, but luckily he does not appear in either of these. Although Jedediah Goodacre, Jada Marie, Melly, and China, and a bunch of others of the OG cast did attend the movie's premiere, so who knows, maybe older characters could come back in future movies. Still not sure about seeing Chad again at the moment. So while Ben, Mal, and the others are away, Uma has been appointed as the new principal of Auradon Prep, and she joins Fairy Godmother in her office, played once again by Melly Paxson. Now, as I said in past videos, it is such a blessing to have these two wonderful women back on screen again after all these years, and it's like they never left. The way both China and Melly jump right back into their roles is super surreal to watch, and they did such a good job of bringing back some of the old Descendants magic that we've been missing. Oh, also, I did want to come clean about my theory about Uma attending Auradon Prep prior to this movie, because later on she stated that she didn't. But I'm okay with this theory being debunked anyway. It was really just a tiny thought to think about when the first teaser dropped earlier this year. Although we find out why Uma's becoming the new principal. It's because Fairy Godmother has been appointed as the new president of Auradon University. Which I think sounds pretty interesting. While these two are focusing on bigger purposes in their lives, it's still a nice way to inform us, the fans, that they're still sticking around in this world, but depending on whether or not we'll see them again is anyone's guess. So now that Uma has taken the position, that basically means it's time to call on her fellow pirates and just decorate the hex out of this office. Even Fairy Godmother has some slight concerns.
Are you sure you want to put that up?
It's pretty funny, but I'll let it slide for Uma here. So Uma's first demands is to allow all the kids around the kingdom to attend the school, and this includes new location number 1, Wonderland, of which we'll get to in just a bit. Uma has prepared an acceptance letter for Red, and Fairy Godmother references the Queen of Hearts planning the War of the Roses from the book and how they closed the rabbit hole ever since. Even though the Queen of Hearts doesn't seem to care about the rabbit hole later on. Then they both reminisce on some memories from the original trilogy, and we see some familiar faces on the wall. On the far left, we see Uma and Evie at the end of D3. This is after the Break This Down number. Next to that is Mal, Evie, Jay, Carlos, and Ben together as they've taken down the barrier in that movie. Over on the far right, we see Mal and Ben riding the carriage to Ben's coronation in the very first movie. Then of course next to them, and saving the best for last, we see our beloved Carlos DeVille, who was played by our forever boy himself, the late Cameron Boyce. Now, the following part of the scene is just so sweet to watch. In fact, I'm just gonna let it play out here.
This is for Princess Red. Are you sure? Sure Carlos would want. So don't do it for me. Do it in honor of him.
Obviously, this hit us really hard. Just to see his face and feel his spirit within the film and how it affected China and Melly in the scene is so emotional. And as we zoom in on his face in the portrait, I just love how China says this line.
It's what Carlos would want. So don't do it for me. Do it in honor of him.
While in context of the film, Uma wanted to do this task for him as a fellow VK and to see another be given a chance. But also in reality, China is saying this next chapter of the franchise is something that Cam would have loved to see. And as we wrap up this intro, we see Uma shed a tear for the first time, because she feels that emotional weight that we're all feeling. Also in my teaser trailer breakdown, I talked about what China was going through and what she stated in her People magazine interview before the movie came out, and you can read the article in your own time as I listed it in the description. So Fairy Godmother casts a spell on the letter and sends it to Wonderland, and this is where the new Descendants story actually begins. We dive deep into the rabbit hole itself, and the visual effects of it alone look so great. In fact, nearly all the visual effects in this movie are really well done, and we gotta give props to the animators. But honestly, this has to be my favorite VFX shot of the whole film, because I was envisioning what it would look like compared to the 2D animations in Alice in Wonderland. While being shown a little bit in this movie, it still looks really good. Now we finally enter Wonderland, and the establishing shot of the castle looks amazing, both night and day, and we see the people of Wonderland beginning the Queen's curfew. Dang, she's really giving Fairy Godmother a run for her money, and apparently we will see her get a lesson from her later in the movie. But now it's time to literally paint the town red, as we see our first new descendant, the Queen's daughter herself, Red, played by Kyla Cantrell. And I'll always give her a standing ovation for playing this part right. She cuts the roses, smashes some flower vases, lights some fireworks, and splats some paint on her mother's banner. This song is hands down my favorite of the movie, and the Soldier Cards choreography is awesome. Speaking of the Soldier Cards, towards the end of the book, one of Red's friends, Ace, ends up getting captured by the Queen herself, and is turned into one of the Soldier Cards. And if you know the deck of cards, from the jacks, queens, kings, clubs, diamonds, and spades, Ace signifies as the first in the suit. And unfortunately, to Red's shock, Ace becomes the Ace of Hearts. Now, how's that for symbolism? Now, I searched for Ace everywhere during the first few minutes of the movie, but unfortunately, I couldn't find him. Now, upon later rewatches, I thought he was the Jack of Diamonds, as if he was under the Queen's influence, and then he grew higher in the ranks, but I could be wrong. So maybe they'll save him for the next movie, and of course, we'll talk about that later at the end. Then Red manages to escape with some help from her teacher and the role inventor of Wonderland, Maddox, with Auradon playing the Mad Hatter's son. I love the steampunk vibes from him, his lab, and his gadgets. It almost feels like someone you would meet from Discoveryland at Disneyland Paris. Also, fun fact from the book, while Maddox teaches at Wonderland High, the biggest detail is he studies quantum physics, which leads him to revealing his latest invention, the Pocketwatch, which is also a time machine.
Great Scott.
And of course, many of you recall, Pocketwatch was the working title of this movie. Then Maddox goes on to explain how it works, and then gives us the traditional time travel rules.
It takes you to the moment in time that can give you what your heart wants most. But I should warn you, when you alter the fabric of time, there can be some unpredictable consequences.
Yeah, I'm already getting the typical Back to the Future vibes. And you know, as a matter of fact, you can kind of see Red and Maddox as the Marty McFly and Doc Brown of this movie. Small world. But Maddox assumes Red isn't ready for it yet, so he puts it in his coat pocket. Though when Red goes to hug him, if you listen very closely, you can actually hear it being removed from his pocket. Yep, this girl's learning from Jay. Though later on in the courtyard, Maddox doesn't seem to be too worried about the pocket watch not being in his coat pocket. In fact, he doesn't even question it to Red. I wonder if Maddox knew that Red was going to take it anyways. This is a pretty good question to think about. I think Eric Voss on New Rockstars would say that best. Does he know? Ugh, I cannot believe I just said that. Again, that came from New Rockstars first, not me. So Maddox sends Red back to her room through his cool tube system, and then he sips his teacup with a tag that says, "Drink me." Ha, like father, like son. And as we think Red is about to use the watch, she's concerned on how she'll affect things around her, including her mother. Alright, next we enter Cinderella's Burg, and we finally meet with the Charmings. We see Chloe, Malia Baker, and King Charming, Paula Montalban outside taking the swords lessons together, and the fight choreography looks perfect. Now, many of you remember Paula from the Rodgers and Hammerstein Cinderella from 1997, starring alongside the amazing Brandy. Now, yes, I did watch their movie prior to this, and they did such a good job with that adaptation. And this leads us to Cinderella herself making her grand entrance in the Descendants world, and we should all applaud with the standing ovation that Brandy definitely deserves.
It represents Cinderella's birth.
Sound like your mother.
Don't listen to him. Your father's never cared about what other people think.
What do? I'm charming.
That's debatable.
Then what follows is something I didn't expect them to do in this movie, but hey, it needed to be done anyway. They finally sing "This Is Love," and it rolls! This is definitely the greatest moment in the film, because Brandy and Paula still got it after all these years. Yeah, it's a bummer that it was never used in their movie, but you know, I can't blame them because, you know, they were doing their own thing back then. Now, I don't think Brandy and Paula are playing the same versions of their characters from before, since Brandy's fairy godmother was played by Whitney Houston. So if we're going by the Marvel logic here, these could be variants within the Descendants universe. Yeah, it might sound confusing, but this makes the most sense in my headcanon.
Ella and Charming reminisce on their high school romance and explain how it all began at an event called Castle Coming.
So Castle Coming is the special dance they attended at Merlin Academy, which is what Auradon Prep used to be. And yeah, this sounds like their version of the Enchantment Under the Sea dance. Now we'll talk more about that later because I'm too distracted by these glass boots.
They're just like yours, but even cooler.
You earned them, Chloe.
These are some big shoes to fill.
Are you gonna try them on or what?
I knew these would look good, and you know what, it just occurred to me, these are essentially Chloe's Nike Nags. But no power lacing included. Back in Wonderland, we finally meet Rhea Ora playing the Queen of Hearts, who pretty much has the best wardrobe in this movie. She scolds Jack for the courtyard's vandalism and points to Red to give out punishment.
Since you'll be queen one day, I'll let you decide.
It's up to me.
Now here we see the mother and daughter relationship between the two, and oh boy.
Off with his hat.
You're such a disappointment.
Now obviously Red does not want to go through with her mother's demands. You know, kind of a flip on another mother-daughter relationship we've seen before. Doesn't that sound familiar? But just as she's about to sentence Jack to something, actually at this point he doesn't even appear in the movie again after this, Maddox arrives with Uma's letter for Red.
Now post D3, it's wild that the Queen already knows about a handful of villains that have already gone soft since the barrier was taken down on the Isle, and you can tell that she's pretty disgusted by this.
Assuming that the Queen wouldn't be that naive to let Red go, she lets her go. What? Well, unbeknownst to Red, her mother is secretly using her as leverage for her big plan, in which we'll see later. So both the mothers and daughters take off.
The Queen tells Red to put on some respectable clothes, much to her dismay, and Chloe isn't all by wearing her glass boots. Again, the perfect shoes for this character.
Though King Charming wants to stay behind, and then he references Chad. Oh my god, why?
Around the same time as their departure, he's about to play a tourney match at his college, and he wants his dad to come and visit.
Oh, Ella and Charmaine, I feel so sorry for you both, because considering how Chad was in the past movies, I do not see how he was able to get into college so easily. I'm not blaming you guys entirely, I'm just saying you might as well keep an eye on him. In fact, we should all keep an eye on him. So while Chloe and her mom take a nice, fancy, smooth motor carriage out of the kingdom, Red and her mother decided it's a good idea to just bolt out of the kingdom like it's a motorcar track. Oh, by the way, in my trailer breakdown, I almost said that the Queen's vehicle was a roadster, because that was my original thought of what it was. But that's actually a HCR Polaris Ranger. So Auradon has limos, Vespas, Revolt electric motorbikes, and motor carriages, but Wonderland has Polaris Rangers? Okay, cool. The Queen slams on the gas pedal, we're back in the rabbit hole, and bam, right into Auradon.
As soon as they pull into Auradon Prep, the Queen disapproves Red's outfit, and I'm pretty sure this line was done with ADR.
We personally think that outfit is very respectable, Your Majesty. She really wants love from her mother, but the Queen obviously doesn't care about that.
Which is why the next song is titled Loving It.
Oh, and the comment on the background chorus of the song, oh my god, you guys have definitely taken me to church. Then the two mothers finally meet, and Ella says the Queen's real name out in public.
Bridget, it's your Royal Highness now.
Ooh, Ella, big mistake. Then Chloe's introduction to Red immediately falls down the rabbit hole by this.
You must be Princess Red of Wonderland. I've always wondered what it's like over there.
But then Red explains the Jabberwocky to her.
The Jabberwocky.
A monster that eats annoying girls.
Yeah, clever wordplay, princess. Then Bridget and Ella explain what happened at Castle Coming.
At the event, a cruel prank was played on Bridget, and that's what led her down the path of becoming the queen as she is now.
If only we got to see that! Yeah, I'm jumping the gun, I'm so sorry. As they enter the courtyard, they briefly pass by Aladdin and Jasmine.
Call us Aladdin.
He's like, no, we are not there yet. Why in the name of Dalmatians did that happen? Anyways, we pass by the couple along with their eldest son, Aziz.
Aziz, light!
Yes, I had to bring in this meme because I couldn't resist. Now, Aziz has popped up in the previous Owl books before, and I believe this is the first time that a book-only character has made their way into the film, so that's really cool. But it sucks that he and his parents from the past and the present got their roles cut for time. Speaking of cut for time, I know you're wondering why the Queen suddenly changed her outfit here. Well, there was apparently some wire work with Rita and Kylie, but again, this ended up getting cut from the film. And trust me, there is a lot of deleted scenes that were left out of this movie. Red and her mother gaze into the looking glass and see themselves ruling Wonderland together. While Bridget sees the future as destiny, Red obviously doesn't want that. She wants to go down her own path. Oh, and Doc, remind me, what did you say about the future?
Your future hasn't been written yet. No one's has.
Exactly. So now Fairy Godmother begins the welcome ceremony, she brings Uma to the stage, and we finally hear a remix of What's My Name from Descendants 2, and it rocks.
However, I do not approve the Queen of Hearts throwing some shade at this performance.
Oh my god, again, Melly, China, I'm super blessed that you guys were able to come back, and I can't thank you guys enough for doing such a good job on this movie. But once all that is wrapped up, suddenly Uma is challenged.
The Queen rudely twirls her cards to stop the ceremony, and when Red asks what she's about to do, she responds by playing my favorite game, and her game means war.
So the Queen shuffles the cards into the air and the soldiers drop down into the courtyard. She blocks the exits and then gives Fairy Godmother's wand the now you see me treatment.
Really? Yep.
Yeah, if you remember seeing my reaction, this was the most shocking thing from the trailer. And I must say, has this wand really suffered enough?
Then the Queen takes the stage and taunts Auradon by acting like they've never seen a coup before.
Yeah, they have, like twice. So Red learns that her mother planned this out the moment the letter arrived, which is very cruel of her. But Ella makes her stand against Bridget.
And from her perspective, it is devastating that Bridget is still holding a grudge after all these years.
Now Bridget does make a good point here. If Ella would have protected her from the prank, then this coup would have never happened in the first place. She basically just went off on her own Cinderella story.
Then Bridget tries to pull a Loki by telling Ella to kneel, but then Ella responds with just a simple no.
Now obviously we can't fault Ella for standing her ground, and of course this is something that Chloe might want to take into consideration later in life. But Bridget pressures Red to declare punishment and Ella thinks Red won't go through with it. Shockingly, Red declares Ella is guilty of treason, and then Rita Ora finally shouts out the line in the proper way.
Off with her!
Mama! So the soldier cards separate Ella and Chloe, and with a kiss on the cheek, Red starts to see her worst nightmare coming true with a flash of the future. But then she realizes she can change the ending, and grabs the Pocketwatch and intends to go back, well, at least a few minutes. However, after a brief tackle with Chloe, they both jump back to the past by a few decades. 30 years to be exact. Whoops. Alright, so branching off here for a bit. The timeline from the first movie indicated that Auradon was formed 20 years before the main events of that film.
Now it seems that a good amount of time has passed since the original trilogy and Mal and Ben's wedding. And remember, Uma stated at the beginning that it has now been 30 years since the creation of Auradon. So if my math is correct, that means the world of Descendants has officially jumped 6 years into the future.
Yeah, I know, the Descendants timeline is obviously a bit complicated. And I've already made the roadmap of it in my teaser breakdown, which you should definitely check out, but I'm obviously not going to go full in depth with it here since I pretty much don't have the time for it. And yeah, the breakdown definitely speaks for itself. You know, since we're at this point in the movie, I think it's a good time to talk about the Royal Baby that I've been talking about in my other videos. Yeah, unfortunately that theory didn't come to fruition. Apparently one of you guys who have been watching my videos, and I think it was at Disney Descender, yeah, you informed me that Kylie told another fan that the subplot was eventually cut from the film. Now, when you posted that comment, I personally wanted to take it with a grain of salt because at that point the movie wasn't out, but now since we're on the other side, I can humbly say that I'm glad the subplot did not make it into the final cut. Yeah, because, you know, it would have been great to see Mitchell Hope to return for a cameo, but at the same time, you know, he's an actor, he might have been busy with another project, but working in that subplot, I think it would have dragged the movie too long, so well, who knows, maybe they might save it for the next movie, but, you know, when you're on a Hollywood production, you know, some things they might not make it into the final cut. You might have to make some sacrifices to, what would I say, keep the pace as simple as possible. But I'll admit, when I came up with that theory, I figured it would have been a little too far-fetched. So with that, I definitely want to apologize for giving your hopes up on that particular theory. Yeah, I know it was a stretch, but hey, it's fun to theorize, right? Red and Chloe land in the same courtyard, but apparently not everything looks the same. Since now that we're in the past, Auradon Prep doesn't even exist. Instead, it's Merlin Academy. They meet the young fairy godmother, in this case, Faye, practicing her magic, but she's in the early stages of her training. So apparently the story of Cinderella hasn't even happened yet at this point.
Also, I noticed from a book that she's already starting to have a good taste in pumpkins, so I guess that will come in handy later on. Although the title is very hard to make out, it looks like it says Unleashing the Magic in Gourds, but I could be wrong, so let me know in the comments of what you think this says.
Red explains to Chloe what happened, of which she's oblivious to her surroundings.
She states that the Pocketwatch took them back in time so that she could stop the Queen from staging the coup, but Chloe obviously acts very skeptical.
You're joking. Does it look like I'm joking?
Same here, Red. And yes, I know we're all aware of Malia's infamous changing wig.
Thought we wouldn't notice, but we did.
But I pretty much gotten used to it at this point, so I think it's not going to bother me here. They both wrestle for the Pocketwatch in Fight of Our Lives, and the choreography, I must say, is stellar. The dynamic between these two was something we've been dying to see, and it works so freaking well. Kylie and Malia are the perfect casting for these characters. Next, we see the two of them explore Merlin Academy, and yeah, I think we can kind of get the Harry Potter vibes from this scene.
Welcome to Hogwarts.
They stumble upon the Castle Coming poster, which features a really cool kinetic Ferris wheel, and also this features a very interesting Easter egg, probably my favorite Easter egg in the film. Now, those of you who are Disney Park fans like me, the artwork might look a little familiar to you. The artwork resembles one of Disney's classic attractions, It's a Small World, and the artist behind it was the one and only Mary Blair. Yeah, it's so cool that we have a Disney Parks nod in one of these movies, and trust me, whenever I watch that scene, I can look at that poster all day and remind myself how fun It's a Small World was. What was that? I don't know. They soon run into Merlin, played by Jeremy Swift, and I must say his comedic performance was very well done. I think he did such a good job.
While unaware that Red and Chloe are from the future, he basically sees them as new students attending the school, and then he takes away Chloe's sword. Oh man. But luckily it's in the dorm since they're going to be roommates. You can tell Swift was really trying to imitate the original Sword in the Stone voice actor, and he definitely got a laugh out of me. They walk into his classroom office, which is the same office that belonged to Fairy Godmother and now Uma in the present. And also another detail I noticed, Merlin's table in the center of the room is actually King Arthur's round table. We get a better look at it later when Ren and Chloe try to grab the Sorcerer's Cookbook, and you can see all the knights' names are visible, including King Arthur himself. Then Ren and Chloe meet the younger versions of their parents. Now we see Ruby Rose Turner as Bridget and Morgan Dudley as Ella. And yeah, this scene kind of gave me the vibes of Martin McFly meeting George in 1955. And again, the Back to the Future parallels just keep on coming. But then of course, Chloe is the first one to slip up.
Mom?
Understand time travel, girl. Dalmatians. But I'll agree with her on this. Those parts are definitely 999% disgusting. While mixing potions, Red has a pretty solid chat with Bridget, who had a completely different personality as a kid. They both share their past school experiences with each other.
Bridget asks Red how many kids were at her old school, and while Red tries to hold herself together, she responds with just one.
While Bridget assumes Red was homeschooled, apparently Red is actually making another reference to the book again. Red attended Wonderland High with Ace, as we talked about before, but also another kid named Chester, who at the end transforms into a Cheshire cat. I swear, when I read that part of the book, this really caught me off guard. And a very terrible fate for that kid if I say so myself. Bridget lets Red sample her flamingo feather cupcakes. Oh, by the way, these were actually offered to the attendees at the movie's premiere. They have a very delicious taste that you definitely can't resist. Pink! Like, literally, they turn your clothes and objects pink. Probably a little too much for my taste, but I digress. Now, cue the next musical number, Life is Sweeter, where it literally becomes a pink party. We meet up with Faye again here, but then comes the couple that apparently brings to life a meme that the fandom is taking way too seriously. And you know what? I'm not going to say the name here. No. No. No, no, no!
Carlos Gerardin, he's like a magnet, so attractive. It's all fantastic, cause we're flying high together on a magic carpet.
Please tell me it's over. Alright. Okay, where were we? Then we meet the young Prince Charming, and Red almost starts to catch feelings for him until Chloe cuts in.
Okay.
That's my dad.
Oh.
Now the choreography for this one, again, pretty solid. And if y'all saw the video when I did the dance, I'll tell you, it was definitely a challenge. But hey, they did recently release a full tutorial of it, so who knows? You might be seeing me doing it again in the future. Oh, but here's a quick side note I wanted to share with you guys. Apparently in some recently leaked early storyboards, we would have seen a young Tiana Anzelli who was supposed to be Rapunzel's daughter, but then the team decided to label her as Rapunzel herself. However, they ended up reducing her role altogether, and in the final cut, they changed her name to Meadow. So yeah, pretty unfortunate for that actress. Although you can spot her in some later shots, but only laughing for just a few seconds. Plus, Chloe would have had a romantic relationship with her. While, yes, representation would have been interesting to see, although timeline-wise, I don't know how this would have worked if they kept it in. Heck, even young Beast was supposed to appear in this movie. But again, timeline-wise, for him to create Auradon, that obviously wouldn't have worked. But don't worry, I'll talk more about this at the end. Then to really spice things up, the early VKs come in and immediately crash the party. We have Joshua Coley as the young Captain Hook, Peter Lindell as Morgana Le Fay's son Morgie, Anthony Pyatt as the young Hades, and also a fellow Floridian if I do say so myself, Mars as the young Maleficent, and then enters the one and only Dara Renee as Uliana, who is Uma's aunt and apparently Ursula's sister. Also, some of you may not remember, but both Kylie and Dara guest starred in the Descendants remix dance party back in 2020, where Kylie did a remix of What's My Name, and Dara did Chillin' Like a Villain. So both of them really came full circle by working on this movie together. Uliana takes the feathers off the cupcakes, and while Bridget warned about the side effects, she ends up getting the Wizards of Waverly Place movie treatment that Giselle got. By the way, why would she cough from coming out of underwater? Is she someone who was born at the sea? Yeah, this got me confused. We now know that Uliana is going to be the one to do the prank, and now Red and Chloe's objective becomes very clear. They need to stop Uliana from causing that prank, and then letting Bridget turn into the Queen of Hearts in the present. However, they first need to know where the VKs are hiding, so they go to the Tremaine mansion to talk to Ella, who now lives with Lady Tremaine, played by Julie Serta, and they help her clean the house. Also, for those of you who know Julie Serta, you probably might have seen her in the Mighty Ducks Game Changers, and also for you Marvel fans, you might have seen her in Iron Fist. Wow, so that's 2 Marvel actors in this movie. Well, in this case 3 if you include Delph Cameron from earlier. And that's a little sprinkle for you Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fans. Meanwhile, Ella explains why Uliana always targets Bridget, and Red starts to see that her mom really had a hard life.
Red says that Bridget is an easy target for a bully like Uliana who is ruthless to everyone. However, from an optimistic perspective, Ella sees Bridget's kindness more as a strength than a weakness, and Red finally starts to see some clarity.
Yeah, from the look on her face, you can definitely tell that she has some sympathy for her. Chloe knocks over Tremaine's boss, and then Ella gets grounded from Castle Coming. Whoops. Now, I could see this as an unintentional ripple effect that could come into play in the next movie, but again, hold that thought as we talk about it a little bit later. So now, Red and Chloe make their way to the Black Lagoon to hear Uli's perfect revenge, and this set is so great for a villain's lair. Also, the song itself, especially at this point in the timeline, feels like the earliest mixture of Rotten to the Core and What's My Name, and it sounds really good. So Uli and the VKs plan to steal the Sorcerer's Cookbook, curse Bridget, and then turn her ugly. Wow, is that a weird plan or what? Of course, Red and Chloe need to stop them by getting the book first. But before they do, they need to turn to Bridget, who is practicing with her cards, and probably making good use of them, unlike what she will eventually do in the future. And yes, I will always say that those cards definitely need to be part of the merchandising. Please, Disney, sell the cards already! Red then finds the looking glass in Bridget's room,
and Bridget states that it's a Wonderland royal heirloom that has been passed down for generations. And luckily, Bridget hasn't looked in there yet.
I mean, why would I want to spoil a future? I'm sure it'll be wonderful.
oh girl, you do not need to know what happens to you in the future. But while Bridget looks for the book, Red and Chloe look in the looking glass to see what's happened after they left, and things aren't looking too well.
The soldier cards bring King Charming to Auradon, and when questioning about Cinderella's whereabouts, the Queen of Hearts shows the only two things of her remains. So it seems that the Queen of Hearts has off Cinderella, which is really haunting Chloe right now as she watches her father grieving in utter despair. And good lord, even I can't comprehend about how dark this part of the movie is. Like, I can't believe they went there.
Ooh, R.I.P. glass slippers. Sorry, I just got caught in a moment there. But Bridget has some bad news.
She explains that the Sorcerer's Cookbook that they're looking for is banned, and the one place it's being kept in right now is Merlin's office.
So afterwards, Red and Chloe head back to their dorms, and they both each come up with a plan on how to steal the cookbook.
While Red thinks it's best to sneak into the office first before Uliana, Chloe thinks it's more wise to go tell Merlin the truth like any good student would do, and Red immediately disagrees.
You sound like your mom. Thank you. And how'd that work out for her?
Below the belt, Red. Below the belt. Now, when you really think about it, both of them are actually right. Obviously, yeah, stealing the cookbook first would delay Uliana's plan, but if they actually got Merlin involved and told them the truth on where they came from, then he would have been able to help, because after all, he is the most powerful wizard in this world, am I right? Now, yeah, I'm not sure if he would be willing to go along with this since he wants to keep the timeline intact, but that's a whole separate discussion for another time. Meanwhile, Chloe meets up with Ella and they discuss the differences on what makes a person good or bad as they literally get their hands dirty.
Say you have a friend, well, not a friend, but someone you know who's a bad person. How do you know they're a bad person? Because she says so herself.
Ella does bring up a good point to Chloe here, that while trying to work and fight for a good purpose, you don't need to be a goody-goody all the time, which is why Ella says,
bad people don't think that they're bad.
Hence the song's title, it's okay to get your hands dirty every once in a while. Like, just look at Merida, Mulan, Jasmine, and heck, Chloe, even your own mother.
Bad kitty.
So now Uliana and the VKs prepare to break in, but they notice Red has already snuck past, and now they leave Morgie behind as the lookout. I wonder if that was intentional. Trust me, you'll know why later. Chloe then joins Red into stealing the book from the office, and also to explain the outfit change, the junior novel reveals that Chloe took a Merlin Academy tournament uniform before catching up with Red. They both enter the office and they spot the book, but unfortunately they trigger Merlin's security system, leaving us with one big final fight scene. Red and Chloe dodge the swords, however the round table summons a knight, and then Chloe decides it's finally time to lose the glass boots. Again, R.I.P. Suddenly the VKs enter the room, but just when you think it's all over, once Uli opens the book, bam! They are literally frozen in place in the middle of the room. Which leads to Red giving us another one of the greatest lines in the whole movie. Red assumes that the book won't open for her since she's a VK too, but Chloe finally sees how Red has changed and says that the book is really in safe hands. In this case, her hands.
This is a very nice moment by having our two polar opposites finally seeing eye to eye. And with that character growth, Red is finally able to open the book.
Interesting. So in a sense, does the book have a mind of its own and understands what Red is trying to do? Does it know? But again, this is Merlin's magic that we're talking about here. Merlin then gives the VKs detention, and with Red and Chloe seemingly succeeding their mission, they finally blast back to the future right before the Queen unleashes her cards. Actually, if you play both of these scenes side by side, they almost play out the same way, even when Red asks her mother the same question.
This part kind of plays out like at the end of the first Back to the Future, where Marty returns to 1985, but then sees him going to 1955 from a new perspective.
But then here's where things start to change. Once the Queen turns around, her red dress is filled with white colors.
And instead of soldiers, her cards reveal heart bubbles.
Obviously, this clarifies that the girls already made the changes in the past to affect the future.
Sorry to mention Back to the Future again, but if you think about it, both this and The Rise of Red are kind of the same story. No, I'm not referring to the time travel, even though they are key components to each movie. But these are two parallel stories in which a kid saves their parents. In fact, circling back to Eric Voss from New Rockstars, you should watch his analysis of the first Back to the Future movie on his Deep Dive channel, cause he really explains what makes that particular movie tick. No pun intended. And he did a fantastic job with that video. Again, I highly recommend it.
Bridget is no longer a dictator, Cinderella is still alive, Auradon finally celebrates, and the movie's over. Now, hold up, doesn't this ending feel a bit rushed? I mean, it definitely did for me and many others. Cause 1, we didn't end up seeing Castle coming. 2, with the VKs defeated, Bridget presumably went to the event alone and safely. And 3, Ella couldn't go since she got grounded. On top of that, I don't think all their changes could have been on the same timeline that we know. Folks, I honestly think we could be looking at this as a branch within the timeline. Now, why do I think this? Well, remember, Uliana left Morgie as a lookout, right? Apparently, there was a deleted scene with Morgie in the school with the cookbook while his friends are still frozen. And coming back to Cinderella real quick, while we do see her at the end, here's where I propose a very stretched theory that might be set up in the next movie, if we get it. And while Bridget is good, perhaps they could switch the characters' roles and make Cinderella evil. Yeah, I know, this would be the craziest thing to happen, but remember, Uma does say this right before the credits roll.
Everyone got what they wanted, but getting what you want could be dangerous, especially when you mess with the fabric of time. And of course she ends with the classic line, you didn't think that was the end of the story, did you?
Huh, an even bigger question, does she know? Oh, that meme has been running through my head. But to clear up the confusion here, according to executive producer Susan Todd in a TV Line interview, she stated that the movie we ended up with was already stacked, and to quote her, they apparently ran out of real estate. So while the movie doesn't feel 100% perfect based on that abrupt ending, we can't fully blame the crew and the cast for what they had to work with, and they did a pretty solid job with it though. But perhaps whatever that was cut from the film, they might save them for the next 2 in this trilogy if we're lucky. That's right, we've entered a new saga for Descendants. You loved the Isle of the Lost trilogy, well now here we are in the Pocketwatch trilogy. And maybe that means more time travel in the future. But all in all, I definitely had a good time coming back into this world. Along with meeting these new characters and reuniting with some old favorites, complete with another pretty wicked soundtrack, and now with magical time traveling pocket watches, I'm definitely revisiting this movie again and again and again. So that's Descendants: The Rise of Red. Again, not entirely perfect, but it's still very enjoyable to watch. And I must say, it feels so good to have some new content from this franchise again after so long. And my friends, this new chapter is just beginning. Thank you guys so much for watching this breakdown. You know, as a matter of fact, I need to get back to the future myself, so I'll see you guys very soon. Alright, let's try it again. Yeah. I'm back? Oh, this thing really works. Guess I'm gonna have to get used to it from now on. Yeah, we definitely got some work to do. Oh, hey, you're still here. Well, even through time, you still have an audience. Well, anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video and it was a little something to get you in the Halloween spirit this year. I just want to give a huge thanks to all of you guys who've been joining me on this journey through the Rise of Red, and especially for my TikTok viewers, because that's pretty much where this whole thing got started. Just breaking down all the news from the royal wedding and also doing that little rant for a Descendants 4, even though it ended up happening. Yeah, I know my thoughts of it have changed ever since, especially now since, you know, with the Rise of Red here. But you know, it was a lot of fun making those videos. I never thought I would be doing this, you know, like breaking down stuff. Like, you know, I seen that stuff on what was it, New Rockstars? I seen it on so many other channels. You know, I never thought I would be doing this. I've been making vlogs, but breaking down and being like a news guy on the YouTube channel, I never thought I'd be doing this. Also, with all the hard work put into these videos, I want to thank you guys for helping me reach 10,000 followers on TikTok and also 3,000 subscribers on YouTube. I mean, these are two big milestones I never thought I would be able to reach, but with much of your appreciation and also with your patience, you know, we actually did it. We made it this far, and I can't believe that this is happening to me, but you know, it's a dream come true. Like it's very heartfelt to have so many people watching my content, especially for Descendants. You know, we've been loving Descendants since 2015, and you know, this is so grateful for all you guys to enjoy my content. It's been crazy, but I love it so much. And basically, this milestone special is really dedicated to all of you who've been watching for so long. So my general thoughts on the movie, I think it was really good. It was a lot of fun to watch. I mean, again, not, you know, 100% perfect. You know, there could have been some things that they could tweaked a little bit, but overall, it was a fun ride. And I think that's gonna wrap up for this video. Again, thank you guys so much for watching and for your endless support on this journey. Be sure to hit the like button, smash the subscribe button, and also ring the bell to be notified. And also comment down below your thoughts on the movie and also what your favorite song is from the movie. I think you guys know my favorite song in the movie. And until next time, my fellow Descenders, I'll see you guys soon and have a wicked Halloween. Here we go. Okay, that obviously didn't work. Okay, that was challenging. I'll talk about them as we go. Oh, wait, no, look at it. I'll talk about it. Yeah. And of course, predict about where the franchise could go based on this movie's. No. For real, I'm losing it. Alright. I love the steampunk vibes from him. Oh, no. I'm reading it wrong. So I'll ban. Oh wait, I messed up. Also to point out, in the Barnes and Noble Barnes and Noble. Okay, just decorate the hex out of this office. Oh yeah, that sounds really good. You know, I'm gonna use that. I'm gonna use that. Uma has prepared an acceptance. Acceptance. Can't say acceptance. Even though the Queen of Hearts doesn't seem about to keep. Yeah, this is after the break it down number. Oh wait, break it. Is it break this down? Yeah, break this down, yeah. Then they both reminisce on some memories from... Okay. Then they both reminisce on some... over on the far right, we see Mal, Ben... Oh, we see... I didn't put scene. Oh, God. Okay, let me put this in. There we go. I'm not sure if I can even speak the rest of it. While in context of the... Okay. Then Maddox goes on to explain how it works and gives us the traditional time travel rules. That didn't sound right. Oh. Yeah, I'm already getting the... What's it? Oh, typical. So Maddox sends Red back to his... Oh my god. I knew these would look good. And you know what? It just occurred to me. These are essentially Chloe's Nike nags. She really wants love from the... Dang it. Then Chloe's introduction with Red. Anyways, we passed by their eldest son. Wait. She basically just went off on her own little yeah. But then she realized I've already made the roadmap of it in my teaser breakdown, which you should. Dang it. Okay, perhaps I have some. Okay. The dynamic between these two, I can't even. I'm sorry. They soon run into. I almost said Jeremy. Remember, you gotta say Merlin first and then Jeremy Smith. But I'll agree with her on this. Those pods are 999%. I had it. There we go. Am I getting tongue twisters or something? What is wrong with me? They have a very delicious taste that you definitely can't resist. Insert and pink meme here. Oh, sorry. Couldn't resist that. Oh, wait, dang it. Closing object. I should have said that. All right. No. Oh my god, my back. No, not getting old. She later gets the getting tongue twisted again, I'm sorry. Ooh, R.I.P. glass slippers. Did I really just say that? Yeah, you know, I'm keeping that in. Alright.